Reveille, reveille.
Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Shout out to Mortal Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
To us, doing what we love. It's time to bang. Oh, yeah. UFC 317 week is upon us. International Fight Week. Might as well do a pre-game preview brought to you by Cuervo. Fired up for this. Morning Kombat in the building right here. Brian Campbell, Chuck Mindenhall, Luke Thomas. Thursday, June 26, 2025, noon Eastern start today, but Luke just got off the bird. Better late than never. Fired up to be here. And a reminder that this episode of Morning Kombat is also brought to you by DraftKings. With DraftKings, the crown is yours. Shout out to everybody watching on the DraftKings network on YouTube. Please like, subscribe. Shout out to you audio-only listeners just the same. Those are our social handles to follow us, but you know why you're here, guys, with the biggest pay-per-view of the summer, at least in theory, is upon us. The biggest star in this promotion, at least in my eyes and your groin, is also here.
Pantoja.
Cover of the UFC magazine. But before we get into UFC 318, Chuck Mindenhall, by the way, of... or 317 or 18, and Chuck Mindenhall of Uncrowned fame and many other outlets. I mean, this guy's like Switzerland.
Give him the horn,
hey,
fuckface.
Where's that horn?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. I mean, I should. There's no ballyhoo for me. You're the one who just came in from Florida, man. So I just rolled in on a train from up the road.
Chuck, I mean, I'm going to have to just break into this right away and say, yes, lots to talk about UFC 317. God, I want Ilya versus Islam maybe one day. But there was a major retirement this week that has set the internet on fire, and I'd like to get your take. How will you ultimately remember Cheyenne Vlismas?
Did she retire? I didn't even.
Yes, she's going to focus on motherhood.
She did.
Wow,
Awesome.
You talk about like burying the lead there. Like, I mean, you do it the same week as John Jones. I mean, and only you are going to know about it.
Next week? Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's great. But no, one of my favorite fighters. She had a great. I hope one day she follows that bitch home. I do, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not talking about JP. All right. All right, hey,
it's already
UFC,
awkward. I love it,
it's already awkward. UFC,
I just look at you and my butt starts itching. I mean, that's what you do.
Well, that would have happened anyway, to be very fair with you. Fired up, as always, to bring you an honest take, a preview of Saturday's pay-per-view clash. It's International Fight Week, Hall of Fame, all that happens with that. But, Chuck, maybe it goes without saying, but we expect straight-up honesty, maybe a little bit of rawness that we call real talk.
That's right.
Like men do. Is that too much to ask?
No, I was trying to help you.
All right, thank you.
You've
for that
stuck
intensity.
with that tagline, and I want to be clear. I think it's the worst thing about MK.
Like literally from the beginning, from the bunker days.
I own
and
a
like
T-shirt with that phrase on the back.
I mean, it sort of was fun once.
Consistency is key. I can't get my love.
He did it all the way through the height of cancel culture. Like he was like, let me just keep doing this shtick here.
I mean, HR would call and be like, please fire this oaf. And we'd be like, well, he's, somewhat lovable.
We will kick off our breakdown, our analysis, our preview to get you all kinds of fired up for Saturday's UFC 317 card from Las Vegas. Topuria versus Do Bronx. By getting in on this Blanco. Because of course, pregame preview only happens because of our friends over there at Cuervo. So Chuck and I are going to shoot regularly.
I'm not like Aaron Bronson or whatever that guy is. No, man, I drank the stuff.
We're more like Velasquez. We are straight shooters. Right. Where Luke, on the other hand, Velasquez. Maybe
it's not a word. Velasquez.
Yeah. Well, maybe I was talking about the former Bellator champion. All right, Juliana.
Okay.
All right, little Blanco for me, little Blanco for you. So, Luke, you are drinking what you called a what?
It has a
redneck cocktail?
No, it's like a redneck margarita, but there's a better term for it. It's like I forget what it is, but basically a redneck margarita. Yeah.
There you go. Finish the
now
bottle.
Make sure. Now, last episode,
Drop
to be fair, the Blanco is my favorite here of the Cuervo, the smoothest, Luke, without question.
We're gonna need another bottle.
we're gonna have to get another bottle of this Blanco going. So we're drinking the Cuervo Tradicional Tequila Blanco. Let's get after it now, Luke. I hope you're not going to put that cup through college. I hope you're going to make an honest effort, because last time Bronstetter did a great job sober, but then Luke was like, I might as well join him.
I mean, sometimes I have health challenges on the show that I can't talk about.
Okay.
So I couldn't actually drink that. I had a sip, and that was
he's getting on you for having a good influence. Come down. Your anyways,
guys,
Brian, I'm sorry to tell you, I have AIDS. Okay,
I may not have.
This won't hurt it.
I may not have been a day one truther on the Topuria story, you know what I mean, and the size of Luke's extended genitalia whenever he fights. But he might be the star that UFC, that we as journalists and people that provide for our family need. So this one goes out to La Leyenda himself, okay?
El Matador?
Al Repo.
Yes, Al Repo. Yes, I'll repo your car is what I'll do. Arriba, abajo, al centro, para dentro.
This one's for Cheyenne, all right?
That is excellent.
That was really good stuff.
All I need is a little bit of ice.
All right. And you know what? It's actually past noon this time. Usually we're doing this at 11, 12,
It is tough to drink at 11 a.m.
I
got on the flight this morning. I had a 7 a.m. flight out of Fort Lauderdale. The lady behind me, they're like, what would you like to drink? And normally what do people say at 7 a.m.? Orange juice?
Yes.
Coffee? Water?
Maybe Blanco?
She goes, can I get 2 Bloody Marys? I'm like, damn, bitch.
Yeah.
Florida.
You're having a bad day, huh?
Let me get a steak sandwich and a Bloody Mary and a steak sandwich. Also brought to you by Cuervo, of course. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Shout out to that Blanco. Smooth.
It's good stuff,
Just
man.
puts me in the right mood. All right,
It
we
does.
always take a above-earth view of these pay-per-view cards. This is IFW. Luke Thomas, I need a grade on the depth of this card. We have 2 title fights at top. We have some very interesting filler fights, if you will, from Royval Van to a few other great ones. What are you grading this card? Because I've heard polarized reactions from people on this one.
I excuse me, I love this card.
Yeah, me too.
It's a good card.
love this card. I mean, I think if you're really, there are some things you can say about the card that are true. Does it have a transcendental big star in a huge stakes matchup? Well, not exactly. Topuria seems like he could be the next one, but he's really not there yet. Despite all the great work he did at featherweight, I think he could become that with a win on Saturday. So you don't have an established name like a McGregor or a John Jones or whoever. You don't have that. That's missing. You could nitpick about some other fights on the card, but I'm just going to tell you personally, going up and down this card, almost every single one has something quite good about it, and some of them are fucking awesome.
It sounds like you want to say A-. That's what it sounds
I'm going to give it A-.
Okay, but is it a real IFW A- or is it we've trained ourselves to accept a smaller?
So what I'm going to say is when I'm giving you
level?
that grade, I'm not telling anyone objectively, if I'm doing a hardcore standard, blah, blah, blah. For me, dude, this fucking card bangs.
I like it.
It bangs.
I like the late additions. I like the personalities. I like a lot of things going on. How do you look at this card?
Same way. I think that, Joshua Van, jumping in this position after having fought, June 7th? 3 weeks later, he jumps in on this card, and this will be his 5th fight in the UFC since losing in within an 11-month span.
It's insane.
It's a crazy pace, and you get stories like that occasionally. You're like,
against the number one guy.
Yeah, he's going against the number one guy.
And he's the betting favorite
fearless
right now.
He's the betting favorite. He's fearless. He goes in there. I think that's such a bang for your buck for that swing bout.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. You get Peyton Talbott. He has this cult following. He's kicking off things.
Dude, that fight against Felipe Lima,
man.
Lima might fuck him up.
Talbot,
Dude, he's
a betting
awesome,
underdog.
All
in
the
this
way
one.
up and down this card, Nico Price versus Jacoby Smith.
Biggest
Jacoby
betting
Smith.
favorite in UFC history, Jacoby Smith minus 3,000.
I just don't
right
get
now.
it. Unless,
But I'm saying,
get that
I
one.
love that fight because it's an interesting fight. I love the Felipe Lima and Peyton Talbot fight. Even the Araujo Tracy Cortez fight. Like every fight on there has some kind of redeeming. Well, maybe not the very first fight, but like basically
First fight is Jacoby Smith, Ryan?
No, that's the third fight.
It was the guy who filled in,
they've shuffled.
the
Nico
guy
Price,
who filled in for the guy who had the ankle monitor.
Mr.
McVeigh versus Ewer.
Yes.
Sounds like a lawsuit.
So
yeah,
that one, I'm not
Why aren't they
necessarily.
letting ankle monitor fight? What is
I
going
know,
on?
I mean,
What
come
happened
on,
here?
right?
You had a lot to say about that. I mean, it was,
Cedric Dumas.
I had 2 tweets. I mean, I had a lot to say about it, but
but it resounded. I think it actually spoke to the matchmakers in the end.
no, it didn't.
All right, so we like this card a lot, without question. I mean, it could have been Islam Elia, but I think it is very important on the UFC to build toward that. More on that to come on the fallout of this, but let's get right there at the top of the card. It is Ilia Topuria making his second career appearance at 155 pounds. So previously, he had handled and finished Jai Herbert in a one-off, but he gave up the 145 title. Islam went north to welterweight. There does seem, now that Islam is doing interviews again, like maybe he could be coming back against Jack Della Maddalena in NYC in November, so we'll see more on that. But what we have this Saturday is Topuria facing a 35-year-old former champion and Charles Oliveira, who is always going to be dangerous as shit. The leading UFC finisher, submission expert in the history of the sport. 2-2 in his last 4, but outside of that one-sided title loss to Makhachev, it was a spirited effort against Tsarukyan in a split decision defeat. So first and foremost, Chuck, is this fight just a flashy coronation for Topuria to become the 10th two-division champion in UFC history and maybe, just maybe, launch him into not stardom but superstardom at a time when the UFC needs it? Or is this a potential trap fight in waiting? Because Do Bronx at 35 still got it, still dangerous anywhere he goes in the octagon.
If it's a coronation, they put a minefield in front of it because that's Charles Oliveira. The guy's 35 years old. I was having this discussion recently. It feels like he should be like 48. You know, the dude has been it feels like he's been in the UFC for so long, which he has. He's fought a lot of fights. I've not noticed, and maybe you have more to say about this, I have not really noticed a diminishing return with him yet. So in my mind, he's still the same guy that he's been, probably the best version he's been. I think that him being slept on, he's always carried a bit of a chip on his shoulder. For these types of things, you can see it coming out already. He's getting angry at being overlooked after all he's done in the sport.
There's two Do Bronx moments that let you know that it's game time. If he utters the phrase that the champion has a name, whether he's the champion or not, or if he shows up silver hair Oliveira, then you know he's coming for your girl too. That's what I need to see, who shows up at the weigh-in.
Yeah. So, I feel like would you say is it a trap fight? Yes. If you look at this as a possible coronation, they're just putting Topuria in so he can get the title and we can move along. Very, very dangerous opponent for him to do that against.
Because he thought he was getting Tsarukyan, but I can understand from a promotional standpoint why you would do somebody like Oliveira. But Luke, I want to specifically go back to you and say there were comments from Topuria this week that I felt were telling. He said, look, normally it takes me 2 to 3 rounds to knock these guys out because I have to work so hard on slowly closing the distance to set up my combinations. He goes, I'm going to get an Oliveira who's going to come directly for me. Then when Oliveira sat down for the media, he said, I'm going to come directly for him. Is it true that there's almost a tailor-made element to Oliveira, even though he thrives in chaos, even though he's dangerous? If he moves his head as little as he did against Michael Chandler, he's going to get KO'd. Yeah. It's going to happen here.
At the same time, he took Michael Chandler down in every single round. So there's that. I think that people are asking, like, what are we going to get with Charles Oliveira? I'm not buying that he's super diminished. I don't really think that's true. In fact, I think if you look at some of the mistakes he made against Islam, he's ironed out some of those things where he would leave his feet, for example, to kick. Doesn't really do that the same as much. But what I do think is true is that people have gotten better at fighting him. People understand how to defuse the bomb a little bit better.
There's a lot of tape on him.
There's a lot of tape on him.
Okay, but is it that, or is it that creating chaos against brawlers who prefer that, Gaethje, Chandler, Poirier, You're giving them the bait that they want. They'll get into a reckless fight, and it turns out Charles swims better in the deep end than anybody else when shit gets reckless. Topuria's not going to fall for that.
He might.
He's not going to get succumbed by that pressure.
I don't think he'll get pulled into a firefight where he's just trading, at least not for very long. But to answer the central question, to me, I don't think I've seen a ton of diminishing from Oliveira. I've just seen the rest of the field kind of figure out. Like, I think the Tsarukyan fight to me, which, by the way, I had Oliveira winning that one. And
two deep choke attempts, including at the buzzer.
Yeah,
around
that's why.
It was close. Don't get me wrong. It's close. Like, it's not some robbery, but I did think he edged it out. But the point I'm trying to make is Tsarukyan was still able to have effective ground and pound on him from within the guard. And by itself, that's actually a little bit of a minor miracle. He avoided significant back taking. Like, he showed that there are ways in which you can fight this guy. However, as we know, Oliveira can fight at different ranges and different phases. To me, that height differential, that size differential, maybe for example, now Topuria can handle the ground because he can follow the blueprint to an extent of what Tsarukyan did. At the same time, though, can he follow the same blueprint in the clinch that Islam used? I have more doubts about that kind of a thing. So to me, it's net. Is it a tailor-made fight for Topuria? I think he has some advantages. I would not call it tailor-made, though.
The thing is, though, he is poised. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, will he be drawn into some kind of chaotic moment? And my indication would be like, nah, probably not. Not based on what we've seen. Like, he's a very measured guy in terms of how he goes about it. But if you look, you mentioned the Jai Herbert fight, and his last time he was at 155, he gets clocked like pretty early with a shin to the chin, basically, and he goes down. And he comes back up, and what's his first instinct? It was to wing. Like, he started coming after him, and eventually he got him. Like, he got him, I think, in the second round. But you wonder what happens if he just gets clipped early. Does he then throw it all out and say, like, let's do this? Or how's that going to work? There's some elements to this that you're not sure with him.
Yeah, are you guys fear at all about the idea of power carrying up? Because Topuria has been saying, look, I was really diminishing my body to make the weight. He's like, I could have made it again, but it's not healthy. I don't want to. He's already talking about the benefits of moving up. But people have followed McGregor closely. His power was unreal at 45. Did it change significantly at 55? You know what I'm saying? Like, did he couldn't put you away with that one shot? How do you but some people, it doesn't, like in a way in boxing, it doesn't matter the division because the speed, the precision, the natural power. Do you expect Topuria at this weight class to be a constant one-punch knockout threat?
Yeah. Yes, I think I do. I understand some of the arguments made about, like, well, what about Conor? Conor benefited from a lot. He did have blinding power at 45. At 55, I don't know if he had the same blinding power, but against like Eddie Alvarez, for example, what else do you notice? The timing, the precision.
It's insane.
It just elevates the power because it was so good. You know, to me, like you already saw what he did to Jai Herbert. It looked like he fucking cut him in half the way he hit him. But more to the point, even it's at 45, dude, if you can put Max Holloway's lights out at 45, it's very difficult for me to believe that you won't translate up 10 pounds. And a guy like Oliveira, who Oliveira has much better bearing than he once did, but still gets hit with very big shots. Like, even if the power isn't the same at 45, do I think it's going to be enough to give him some serious problems? Yeah, I do.
Do you even put in the same conversation like Alex Pereira, like making that move from 185 to 205? Because I mean, if you look at that, for instance, it seemed like he was carrying more power when he went up.
It got more explosive.
Yes.
Yeah. You
so
take
I don't know if you can compare
them,
but I'm like, there are examples of guys who move up in weight and they look like their power moves with them.
Like if Topuria went to 70, because everyone's like, oh, what about the next triple champ? That's a big question. Yeah, I'd have questions about his power.
He said he expects to fight at 174 after the rehydration.
Yeah. I don't.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, if he actually went and fought real welterweights, I would have real questions about his power there.
Chuck, the history of this segment, pregame preview, with all that male talk and all that stuff like that, it's developed a lot of famous moments, usually the ones that you'd like to forget, like, what now, bitch? Or Luke throwing up in the sink after that episode. But the greatest,
God, I remember that one.
Fuck you both.
The greatest,
he held out though. That was impressive
most
enough.
salient thought that ever came out of this show's history was when you had the guts ahead of Adesanya versus Poatan to be like, maybe it was Poatan's story.
I like that he keeps
I love when he says that shit. So I got to ask you.
He says it in the mirror 5 times every day.
So I got to ask you.
By God, you're worth it.
I'm already booking the future of not just Ilya winning this fight by knockout, because I think that's going to happen, but also because I think that would be great for the sport and the promotion. And then calling out Islam, and whether they did that fight soon or they built toward it for multi-years, like, I see a path for Topuria to become the biggest fighter in this entire sport. What are we not saying about the Oliveira story? Because at 35, we never, look, we always thought he was dangerous. We respect him as a fighter. I never thought he'd be champion. So when he went on the run he went on and beat the names that he did and just swam in the chaos that he created, it was remarkable. But to have 2 reigns and to go through a guy like Topuria with this momentum here.
That's a great point, man.
I mean, we're talking like not maybe top tier, but upper tier guy for sure.
Is there even you're bringing up a great point. Is there even an equivalent, like anybody you can even think of that has done that?
That's some Randy Couture type shit.
I mean,
right?
I guess like you could come, like Michael Bisping would almost be closer just for breaking through at the end, but he's already been there, Charles Oliveira. But if you look at the scope of his career, missing weight all those times early on, kind of taking some bad losses along the way.
They did you dirty on the lower plate,
here we go again.
I just want you to know, okay?
Silently. No, very vocal. Very vocally. Istanbul here. No, but I think that's a great discussion because where does that leave him? I was talking about this recently. we're so close to like you follow the sport since he's been in the league. You've probably followed the sport since he's been in the league around that time. It's like he's been through so much. He started from a place where it wasn't like we never saw a star coming. He emerged as a star. So we kind of see him still as Charles Oliveira, the guy as a whole.
First team
but
all
some
favela,
people,
correct?
Yeah, the Bronx.
That wasn't
the Bronx.
racist?
No, his name is Du Bronx from the. But you wonder if the broader. Where I have a son who's 14, and him and his buddies know Charles Oliveira. That's a weird gauge, but when they talk about fighters, there's only a few of them that they'll collectively talk. That's one of them. Maybe he's bigger than I understand to the broader audience. I don't really know, but I feel like us guys who are dialed in, it's kind of remarkable in its own way, but we never see him as a star. But something like this.
When he says broader audience, you think he's talking about chicks?
Chicks, kids. People don't watch the sport much.
He makes a good point. This guy's in this fight over Saryukian because of that fact, because he moves product. People love him. He's he gets one of the biggest pops, Charles Oliveira.
Like, it's bizarre, though,
but
right? Like, I feel like if he did this...
Not only is nobody really plotting a path for victory in this fight, I don't think anyone's talking about what that would do to add on to his
I've thought about
legend.
it a little bit. I mean, someone asked me a question, if you had to have... And it's going to sound like a weird compliment, but just follow me for a moment. Someone was asking me if you had to have a tournament of all lightweights in their prime, who would be in the final four?
Wow.
And the answer is clearly Khabib, Islam, and BJ Penn. But that fourth slot is actually a little hard to tell. It's really not clear. But you could put McGregor in there, potentially. You could put, a lot of
for
different
that one
names.
fight, McGregor had it lightweight.
Well, I'm just saying, like in his prime, in his prime, at his peak, could you see a world where he could have been in there? Sure. But to me, it's like Oliveira's kind of hanging on the outside to lose the title, as you indicated, come back, and then to beat like the next big superstar, or presumed next big superstar. I mean, it would put him clearly in that kind of space. It would solidify him as like. One of these enduring champions with an enduring lightweight legacy against all. And again, none of those guys. Penn had ups and downs, kind of, but it was like a different, higher weight classes. It was actually when he dialed in, everything kind of came together. But he had all this ability, and he had beaten. He was a 170 champ before he was a 155 champ. Mm-hmm. Oliveira had all these fuck ups at 45, and then steps up to 55, and then discovers himself. His path to being in that place would be the most unusual of all of them.
Can I ask you guys, like,
or not as unusual as Juliana Pena, but I get what you're saying.
For the lightweights.
Got the asides. If, like, UFC kind of has to want Topuria here, right? Because you do have a potential.
Yeah.
It's like, because we're talking about Oliveira, and we're talking about, like, well, that would be really interesting for those guys, but that's so small compared to what he represents, especially in terms of a broadcast, the whole broadcast deal things being worked out. They need a star, right? They need these guys to be. They need some guys who are going to be like that potential.
In this topic, McGregor not walking through that door. John Jones retired.
Right, 100%.
Sean O'Malley has lost twice in a row to the same guy. I know that there's potential for someone like DDP to continue to climb, but Adesanya going down, like all the people that we relied upon, this is the star we need in this exact moment. That's got to be a high-ranking narrative heading into this card.
What do you think about that?
And he's English speaking too.
Yeah,
and Spanish. And
again, but
calls his shots.
But I'm talking about
there,
I'm talking about the North American market, which obviously has some Spanish speaking audience. But I mean, somebody who he's not American, but he can at least Jose Aldo was to a degree held back in his career by his lack of language proficiency. To a degree, Anderson Silva was, but he picked up English late, and I do think that made a difference towards the end. It does. I'm not one of these guys who's like, they got to speak English. No.
True.
But if they do, some benefits are conferred. But there's simply no denying, dude. The UFC absolutely wants
It's a crude
Topuria.
gauge, but whenever you see Topuria is actually speaking in public or he's doing an interview, there's something that happens, right? You're like, oh, what's he saying? What is that? That's always a weird thing. Like, there are tons of guys who are, very good fighters. They'll do interviews. You don't even pay any attention.
Yeah.
But, like, somehow he compels it. It might even be the scarcity. He doesn't do a lot of media.
Well, in the States.
In the States,
in Spain, he has a press conference seemingly every
No,
other
that's
week.
true.
They say
true.
that's
In the
for the
States.
promotion that he now runs
Yes,
or
I
owns,
understand.
right?
Wow,
But yes,
or whatever it's
he gave
called,
his own
yeah.
promotion
Yeah,
he gave his own presser at the damn PI recently. That
but you know
that
what?
ended
This
up in
is-
embedded
but this
episode
is,
one.
this is the other part. Like Topuria, with everything he does, where he changed that he was on his UFC. On his Instagram bio.
Or
he
now
was
taking a picture with the two
belts,
yeah.
or he always assumes that I'm going to act like a superstar.
I'm going to name myself the
Right.
legend.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to have.
He predicts his every step, and then he backs it up. I mean, that's
Mystic Mac, he sees
Does
it.
the
Yes.
rank and
Yeah.
file have their own press day? I have my own press day.
right.
You know what I mean? Like he leans
Understated though in how he talks, but it's in his actions that feed the meaning.
But this
It's
is what I
weird.
mean. Like he's got all of the making. He has to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
But if you're the UFC, you're looking at this and you're thinking, not only does he believe it, he's acting like it. We just have to get him over that hump. It's a big hump, but
Well,
I
look,
can see why they would favor
Oliveira
him.
meets both criteria. He's legitimately famous and dangerous. And as we mentioned, it might be the perfect type of setup for Topuria to do exactly what he does and look as great as possible. But it didn't have to be Oliveira. You could argue it should have been Arman Tsarukyan, who did defeat by split decision Charles Oliveira when they met, but then had to pull out of his title opportunity against Islam Makhachev at the last minute. Didn't seem to make Dana White very happy with that. So Tsarukyan's going to be the backup for this main event. But there's been some back and forth. In fact, so much so that it's time to welcome in a little bit of shots fired. Shots fired, of course, presented by Cuervo. And now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Yeah, I'm talking about Cuervo. Here is Arman Tsarukyan and the response. Sorry, first we'll see the response, I believe, from Topuria. Let's get into this here.
The backup fighter for this one is going to be Artem Tsarukyan, right? Or Arman.
That's a bad
excuse me.
decision for him. I don't know why he accepted, because you can't come here as a backup fighter. I don't know how long did he train for this fight, but if something happens to anyone, even to me, I think that there is no possibility that something could happen with me. But who knows? No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Even with Charles, he would struggle a lot, and with me, there's like he has no chances. Like. First round, first minutes of the fight, what he's gonna do? Go for the takedowns.
It's
Okay, that was the
Dude,
video.
his fucking confidence.
I know.
It's
That's what I
insane.
mean. It's different.
like,
right?
He's
here's
even
the-
more ruthless in Spanish, by the way, when they show the
It's as cold as that is. It's much worse.
All right,
than
let's see the
Spanish.
Tsarukyan response on the quote tweet is, "You better pray nothing happens to Charles because I'm the worst possible matchup for you in this division. There's a reason you're fighting the guy I already beat and not me for that belt."
He's not wrong.
What came
I know,
first, the
that's
chicken or
true,
the
man.
egg there? Was it that tweet that set up those comments from Topuria? Do we have it
No.
backwards?
I think the Tsarukyan comments came after.
Okay, well, that was Shots Fired
love
this
it,
week,
man.
brought to you by Cuervo. I was still surprised to see Topuria as a pretty damn big favorite. In fact, Long Island Luke, our fourth member of our team today, our producer, director, and Bong enthusiast.
Soon to be single.
Wow. Long Island Luke, could you tell us the DraftKings odds currently on this main event?
We got minus 455 Ilya, plus 350 Charles.
Okay,
That seems excessive.
It seems excessive.
crazy, though.
What would it have been, though, if it was Tsarukyan against
Very in the
Way
100s
closer.
or 200s at most.
100%. It's in the hundreds because
Hey,
he is that. Like
Long Island
publicly,
Luke, what
he
would it be?
Yeah, it's still favor Ilya, but it would be close. Minus 150 plus.
Yeah.
But do you know what's
130.
great is if people are like, well, the UFC is just feeding him a guy they think he can beat. They're already setting the table for the most dangerous guy. He's not afraid of him. Like they're already setting it up. It's one of those things. Like if he does get through Charles, you're gonna find out, right? I
Yeah,
feel like
so-
that's fun. Like
To me,
that's-
it's
Yeah,
like
I
when we get to
agree.
these, like, because everyone's accused Islam of ducking and all this kind of shit. To me, I want to say it for this purpose of the show. Everyone's got a slightly different definition of ducking. But to me, if you're Canelo and you skip out on David Benavidez to go fight Bivol, I will let that go. That
Right.
to me, that's not ducking because you're not fighting the guy you're supposed to be fighting, but you're fighting
Equally,
a fucking
right.
beast.
Sure.
So I just want to put it out here for people being like, "Oh, this guy." No, if Islam is going up a fucking weight class to fight the champion, I'm gonna let it slide.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you ultimately on that. But you're right. If Topuria does do this, if a first title defense comes against Tsarukyan, do that central billing. That's a sexy ass fight. That's a dangerous fight.
The greatest
That
thing a
would be
champion can do,
fantastic.
or a guy in his position, is to just treat everybody like they're the ones trying to catch you already, right? And you just treat them all the same with equal disregard.
Yeah.
I think when you do that,
Silva did that.
I know. I love that though.
Yeah.
There's something that's just like, you guys are all coming for me. I'll fight all of you. I love that.
I do too. But here's the deal. Topuria likes to call a shot. He's kind of following a Conor playbook. Maybe not as directly, as shamelessly as Ian Gary does sometimes, which is more for him like tribute to Conor, but like he's followed from the chest tat to the ways that he moves. He's claiming I believe he's going to call out Islam if he wins, but he's claiming that he would prefer, we played the sound on the last episode, he would prefer Paddy next, but he needs Paddy to go through Justin Gaethje first, and his goal would be to go from Paddy and then directly to welterweight if Islam wins the championship and make that fight.
Also, Gaethje doesn't want that fight.
Do you think that if Topuria wins, the UFC would give him that Paddy fight, knowing that's the perfect time to get the most out of Paddy's commercial value?
I've been saying they should do this anyway because, I mean, this makes more sense, but like Paddy has put together the resume. We used to scoff at this. I remember you were the one who was like, if they put these guys together,
yeah,
we're gonna have to have like some,
no,
chalk. We'll have to put a body chalk.
This was several years ago.
I know. And
at the time, it was very true.
He has actually held his own and gotten through the guys he needs to. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, man, make that fight. First of all, I think that Paddy Pimblett would bring, like, you always kind of need a foil who's going to bring out something more from that guy that's still somewhat mysterious. I feel like that happens, you know.
That's pro wrestling booking,
right.
But like, then Saryukin's got to wait and fight somebody else. Like, it's kind
they
of
don't seem like they're in a hurry to.
Look, if somebody should get special booking, I agree it should be somebody like Topuria. If he does this,
Saryukin should be next.
But does he do it?
Yes.
Let's get as we prepare our predictions here. Can we get into this a little bit more?
Sure.
I mean, can we get a little deeper into the Cuervo here? This one would be called the Cristalino, the Cuervo Tradicional. Cristalino.
I
think that translates directly in Spanish.
Second half of these shows is always a blur.
Large bald, but this is great. Chuck, I would love to start with you as the visitor, but this is your home away from home in a lot of ways.
He doesn't know how to pour a shot. It blows my mind.
I mean, at least I drink them on the show, right? So,
dude, you're a bitch. No one thinks you're cool for drinking. We'll take some of that.
I mean, how's your Mountain Dew Chaser going over there, Luke?
I'm sorry. I like to drink refined cocktails, you pussy.
Remember last episode, he took like a little nibble. He was like, yeah, my stomach hurts, and we're done with that.
Well, I was shitting blood. Is that
all
okay
right?
for you?
I mean, I wanted an entertainment partner. Luckily,
you guys wanted to know.
Luckily, Braun brought
I always miss like the ones when you're shitting blood and things like that. So I am
you
thankful
were here
for that.
How can you miss that? How can you miss that? It's every other week.
I did see him puke in the sink.
Chuck,
that was impressive.
Let's start with you. How does this main event end on Saturday? What are we looking at here?
I think that Topuria catches him early. And it's going to be a quick fight. That's the way I see this happening. I just think that he's the type of guy who you put the spotlight on him in the big moment. I think that he shines. I think he goes in there, he catches him. Like basically, he thinks that Charles is going to come at him. He knows exactly what's going to happen. He catches him. It's somewhere in the first round knockout.
Shine on, you crazy diamond. You know what it makes me want to do? It makes me want to get serious for a second and go, and you're watching over you.
Silent lucidity.
Hush now, baby.
We've been singing this.
You cry. Chuck,
can you believe
that's
these?
The
Can you believe
like
these two fucking bozos?
Hey, we're gonna have a friendship moment here. This
want
is
to
for
lecture other people about masculinity.
This is
It's
for
unbelievable, right?
Chicks who have yet to give birth.
Queensryche 89, baby.
Queensryche 89. Luke, you want to Rebo Bajo?
Is that the band that takes turn blowing each other on stage after their shows?
Cayo, Barajo. Come on, let's go. Let's go, baby. Right.
I like how you went from Cayo Bajalio to Laverne and Shirley. That was... Hey, why don't you pour more down on the floor, you fucking dope.
That's why this carpet is sticky. I will say that.
We haven't talked about one thing.
I'll tell you what, the... Woo!
Yeah, Cristalino?
Cristalino gave me a little Ric Flair. If I think I might
go.
have to shit my pants now.
If we can, there is something you didn't bring up that I actually would like to have a bit of a discussion because I looked into this and I don't know what the answer is, but I'd be curious to get your thoughts. You too, Long Island Luke, here in just a second. Someone has brought up, I've seen it, a lot of people have brought it up on social media that, hey, if Ilya wins, particularly by stoppage, is that the best 3-fight win streak?
Poirier said that to Mike Bone.
He's not the only one. There's
contemplated this.
So I looked at like all the greats records. Yeah. It might be.
Okay, 3-fight stretch. Volk was the champion and pound for pound top. What was he? Number
one or two?
And had never lost at that weight.
He had lost to Makhachev. He was coming off
at that weight.
No, at that weight. So I'm saying I think his pound for pound spot slipped a little bit. He's still like top 3. Holloway was top 10 at that point, and now you got Oliveira, who still is dangerous as shit.
So here's the deal.
We've long compared the calendar years, but any 3 fights in succession we're talking about.
Yes. So I looked at Fedor's record. Fedor's got a bunch of good 2s and then like some scrub.
Yeah.
Demetrius, I don't think has anyone on enough on the level.
There just wasn't enough depth.
St. Pierre had a couple of good 2s, but not so much 3s. But the reason why this John Jones is the closest to me because John Jones has 4 in a row.
What about Anderson? I know that he fought a lot of.
I didn't see anything that. He has a couple.
I don't
where
think
there's
so. Though.
twos
You can kind of remember all the fights and
John Jones is interesting because he has, I think, Rampage and Evans and Machida and like another one. He has like 4 in a row where they were all former champions.
I think he has the greatest calendar year, that 2000.
But
what was
this
that, 11 or 13?
2011
when he won all 4.
He won all 4. He won 4 in a year and he beat all former champions. The point I wanted to make was Topuria is now going up in weight. I can't find anybody who polished off 2 former champions, then went up a weight, and then also
I think you can make
polished
the
off
case, man.
a former. You can literally. It sounds like hyperbole. It genuinely might be.
And
the
guys
best
like you
stretch.
think about BJ Penn and UFC 94 when he went up and fought GSP, and he might have been able to. I don't remember exactly where he was at, but he'd just taken out. Was that right before that? Anyway, he was winning his fights. He went up and he fought GSP, but then he gets handled there, right? But that would have been the moment. You might have had a competition there.
Yeah.
How about
but he didn't get it done.
Poirier stopping Justin Gaethje, then Eddie Alvarez, and then beating Max Holloway for the interim title at UFC 236.
I mean, that's close, but that's not as good.
Okay. Or Poirier outlasting Hooker and then
Also not
stopping
as good.
Conor twice.
Here we go.
Not as good, but an honorable mention. What about Conor's run? You got Chad Mendez, Jose Aldo, Eddie Alvarez.
It's a pretty
And he
good
moved
run.
No,
up
that's
for-
not in succession, dude.
No, the Diaz one's in between. That's
fuck
the issue.
Diaz, I
Yeah,
forgot about
yeah.
that.
That's
All
the
right,
issue.
good
Yeah.
call.
I mean, yes, if it was those 3, then it would be
Freaking
those 3.
Diaz.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, when Max Holloway has back-to-back stoppages of Jose Aldo, I'm sure we can bookend either other win.
Yeah.
Habib, his last 3 was against who, right?
He
Was
never
it-
had.
Yeah, but again, up in weight.
Sure,
Up in
sure,
weight.
sure.
That's the
Sure.
difference for me is the up in weight.
Topuria, second round stoppage?
I'm thinking 4th, actually.
Really?
I think this one might go a little bit.
The over-under is at 2.5. I think.
Is that right?
I'm sorry. I think under that, dude. Under.
Yeah.
No, I'll take the over. I think Topuria does finish him off. But Charles is crafty and
He doesn't move his head enough, Luke. You know that.
he
You know that.
doesn't, but he has success for a reason.
All right, let's get into this co-main event. The flyweight title will be at stake, and what a run Alexandre Pantoja has put together. 3 title defenses, and even though he went life and death with Brandon Moreno to win the title in that blood and guts war with the incredible deep father comments afterwards, he has been efficient since then, getting better, climbing the pound-for-pound ranks, getting in the best shape of his life, and seeming as, in his mid-30s, smart and dangerous as we've ever seen him in his entire career. He is entering against a Kai Kara France. And remember, Pantoja's record against the top 10 entering this calendar year was 9-0 combined. So they need another opponent. Kai Kara, though, has lost 2 of his last 3, despite his most recent fight, which was a first-round stoppage of Steve Erceg. What are we looking at here, Luke Thomas, in terms of the biggest thing to look for, the biggest storyline, the biggest element when Alexandre Pantoja welcomes Kai Kara France?
Man, first of all, you didn't even mention the fact that in addition to the losses, he had a real bad concussion.
Yeah.
That sat him out for a fairly long period of time. In fact, he missed this. This should have happened maybe a little bit sooner than it did. I think Kai Kara France, I like this fight. I think, if you're the champion, you have to defend against the deserving guys. He's a deserving guy, but more than that, he is an interesting challenge. There's a ton of tape on Pantoja at this point, which you got a guy who trains at CKB. They're going to have him probably well prepared. But dude, fucking Pantoja has just absolutely blown past every limit any one of us has tried to put 100%. On him.
He's like secretly entering all-time great Brazilian Pantheon MMA like champion level. Like he's kind of approaching
there.
that.
He's getting, dude. First of all, shouts to Venom. I haven't loved all of the custom fight shorts, but they made custom fight shorts for him. Number 1, he deserves it. Number 2, they're fucking great.
No, I didn't see him.
You didn't see him?
No.
So they took basically Japanese traditional tattoo styling and made it basically shorts. It's fucking
Very
awesome.
cool.
Number 1. Number 2, I keep thinking this dude is shop worn, and I keep waiting for him to fall off and just collapse like a jalopy in some, in some middle of the road nowhere.
Dude, he got better. He got
better. He got
it's more dangerous, more
incredible.
confident.
He can strike. He's not. Not afraid of danger, even a little bit. His game from the back is actually super advanced. That Kusoto hook he used to pull Kaya Sakura off and then take the back and finish it.
In the second round.
Like, dude, he's at the point now where, is he close to what DJ did? No. But that we even have to ask that is fucking remarkable.
Do you see similarities? Like, it's crazy what you're saying. It almost parallels the guy that people want to pair him with, which is Merab, right?
Yeah.
Because Merab lost early.
Yes.
But then Merab started to like just build the machine thing. And if you watch him fight, his pace, the pace he starts to put on, and it's not just that, it's the level changing. It's like he comes up here and then he's on your legs, he's on your hips, he's trying to put you down, or he does the thing you're mentioning with the back, where you get your back. He's on little parting where it's like that little exhale. He's in there tucking one into your ribs, or he's coming. You know what I mean? Like he's just always bringing.
He's the definition of that term they use in boxing, or that phrase that when you become champion, you become 30% better automatically. He's like sort of carrying that
Dude,
out.
he's got something deeper going on. He
does.
He's rabid.
It's like he advanced a level within himself. I don't know what it is. You mentioned
remember the dad
thing, but I feel like that something came off of his chest, and now he's like. It's realizing, like we always talk about realizing their potential. This is a guy who's realized his potential in real time.
Dude, I'd love it, and maybe I'm going too far with this, but if they let Mr. Weidman come to every Pantoja fight, so after he wins, he could be like, Alexandre Pantoja would still be my son. You know what I mean? Kind of. All right. So it is interesting this week. You mentioned Merab. That Pantoja.
I'm not an easy laugh. I'm not an easy laugh.
I think it's your no-sell that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
It's like
Pantoja did say this week he is
Can you imagine
not
tying your career to this oath?
He is not looking to move up and fight Merab. He does not want to do the 2-division champion thing, which is kind of refreshing to hear because everybody seems to want to do it instantly.
Now people want it though.
He mentioned the Josh Van Royval winner. Obviously, Manel Kopp's still out there. There's a few fights you can make. These two though. Bring back Mohaev. Bring back Askarov.
Askarov too, yeah. 100%.
But Chuck, here's the deal though. These two did fight way back in the day in The Ultimate Fighter. Kai Kara-France lost a decision through 2 rounds. But when you package that with the reality that Kai Kara-France has been stopped by both elite Brandons when he's moved up to that level, Moreno and Royval, and he has 2 losses to Moreno, does this tell you the outcome without telling you, or no?
Kind of, because I feel like with Kai Kara-France, what's his Don't Blink? Is that his thing?
All I know about him is just this.
Yeah, right.
This.
I mean, and he has. We saw him the Garbrandt fight. I remember very specifically. He looked like a maestro on the feet. Yeah. You know, like he can do this stuff. But I just don't think having a game where you're like, I'm going to try to melt you at some point in this fight is going to get it done. You know, what do we got now? It's not shocking. It's only in the mid-teens.
Just in 2025.
Wait, compare that comment to when Bronzer told you he was a varsity star, and you were like, "No, you weren't." But shout out to Abraham.
It's like, dude, I went to public high school in America. There's no way you played varsity sports.
Let's put some love on our guy.
It's not possible.
So, Asakura, was that the last guy? Like Asakura, like he came in there, he was all kinds, feeding him all kinds of fancy knees, flying knees all over. It just like you're coming in there with like an aesthetic. Or you're coming in there with this kind of idea, and he goes right through it. That's what I see. Like
he's a buzzsaw.
He is. He's a buzzsaw.
But so, Long Island Luke, you are an intentive bettor. I feel like Pantoja by stoppage is the bet that everybody's going to end up on if you're looking for a little bit of value. Are we counting out KKF too easily, too flippantly here?
I think you're counting out KKF. I don't know if he's going to win. I do see this one going a little long. I took the over 1.5 in a parlay, but honestly, prediction-wise, KKF round 4.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
I mean,
there.
on the one hand, I don't think that that's crazy because we keep remarking like how great Pantoja does, and he does.
When will it end?
Well, he's fucking reckless. Like in any other division, if you fight that way, for the most part, you get wrecked.
He's less reckless each title defense, though.
That's true. That's true.
I mentioned the flying knee. The first flying knee was this close.
Yes,
it was this close to being an Askren Masvidal situation.
Like I can imagine him. I'm not in any way trying to undermine like the spirit of what Long Island Luke is saying, but I can imagine a world where, in fact, KKF does stop him. They do a rematch, and Pantoja gets it right back. But like. Just the point I'm trying to make is you fight in a reckless manner in that way, or just not even reckless per se, just aggressively fucking feral in the way that he is. And you're running a risk there against guys that you otherwise might beat.
It's like
I feel like
Merab got accused of that a little bit too. Like he was coming in, he would get hit. You know,
but his defense has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
You know,
I think Pantoja is going to try to make a statement on the feet too. I think he's going to try to stop him punching here.
Brandon Moreno stopped KKF on the feet.
Yep, I think that's what happens here, and I respect KKF, and I've been wanting him to finally get his opportunity because I felt he has been title material from the beginning coming out of CKB. But he has had a certain amount of hiccups that tell you. Is his record who he says he is, Bill Parcells, or is yes or no? Would you be shocked if he walked out with the title?
Not shocked. Not
shocked. It takes a lot to shock you.
No, I mean he does have. I think he had the Garbrandt, and who else? He smoked Urseg, right? Wasn't that one of them? Like, he's beat a couple guys, and he's definitely got that kind of power. Like, so if it's a reckless thing, it could happen, but I'd be slightly surprised. Because I think that it's like when I used to talk to Ben Askren when he was like, if I fight that guy 99 times out of 100, I'm beating him. He caught me on the one time. Masvidal.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm beating him 99 times out of 100. He just happened to land the one thing. Boom, I was gone.
That's not crazy. I mean,
Right.
when we talked about this when Sarah beat GSP, I mean, that can happen, but
Hey, shout out to Ben Askren.
Yeah,
by the way,
shout
the
out to
fight for
Ben
his
Askren,
life.
yes.
is that true about his lung transplant?
Man, I haven't been in complete touch with him, but trying to stay in touch with him, and he's waiting for a lung transplant. That's what we know. Yeah, it's a kind of grim situation. So prayers up for that guy, man.
Life is
rough.
unpredictable.
That is rough. Prayers to his family for sure. Staying in this flyweight division, though, damn, do I love this fight. Joshua Van on 3 weeks' notice at age 23. Or is he 24? I mean, either way,
He's
it's
23.
so damn early. He's had 8 UFC fights in less than 2 years.
You got
It's
a new
been
phone cover.
And this is
abs-
5
I
within
got a new
11
phone.
months.
Yeah, I got a new phone.
Is that Jimi Hendrix? I don't have my glasses.
That's the
Jimi
Axis
Hendrix?
Bold as Love LP.
yeah.
It's his second album. Yeah, it's fantastic. That it's like my spirit.
Is that Watchtower and all the?
No, that's off of the greatest rock album
Joe.
in history called Electric Lady.
Hey Joe.
the double album.
That's on
Hey
that?
Joe's on the debut. Are You Experienced?
I don't
but
know
you're,
my
you know, you're,
albums. I know the songs.
the second Axis Bold Love is his Dylan album. He was very much in. All right, enough of
He
that.
probably-
It's
that's
not better than Cannibal Corpse's Encased in Concrete. I mean,
I
that's
Came Red. It's like Cannibal Corpse. Yeah, that's fantastic there. Hey
I
guys,
Come
I
Blood.
Come Blood.
Joshua Van,
which they play at every
I
show.
love it.
the Burmese slugger, fresh off of the stoppage 3 weeks ago of flyweight Bruno Silva, not the blind middleweight because of Weidman. We are looking like a future title contender, but he's ranked number 12, and on 3 weeks' notice, he's going to fight yet again against number
love
1 Raw Dog Brandon Royval, the Raw Dog friend of the program.
I also hate
Colorado
condoms.
friend. What?
I also hate condoms.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not going to nickname
Uh,
yourself based on it, though, but that's all right.
The
I mean,
Raw Dog has said this week.
If someone asked me if I thought what would my nickname be, and it's I hate condoms.
well, very similar than you are kindred spirit
Luke
with.
Thomas, the Raw Dog
I think
has
I got
been
AIDS.
waiting to get the Manel Kopp fight. Royval pulled out. Now Manel Kopp broke his foot, so that's what opened the door for Van. But this week, Raw Dog, very emotional, basically said, "Look, I'm the most underestimated, or what did he say? What did he say? Not overrated. I'm the most
Unsung?
overlooked
Okay.
fighter in the UFC." That the respect
could be.
factor. He says he's the underdog in every single big fight, including the Tyro fight. He basically can't remember the last time he was a betting favorite. And against this 23-year-old kid who looks great, bounced back from the first round knockout loss to Charles Johnson, is 4-0 since coming off of a big stoppage. But there's levels to this game. And Brandon Royval, last time I checked, has only lost in the UFC to Pantoja and Moreno, and he
Two
avenged
champs.
the Moreno loss by split decision. I think he learned from the title loss to Pantoja. I think he's coming in here at plus money. I agree with him. It's freaking ridiculous, Luke. Is it just that Van is that great and Vegas is all in? What are we looking at here?
I mean, this is a weird one because I like Van a lot. I respect him a lot. It's not
He can
even,
afford to take the risk. Too,
he can
right?
afford
He's
to take the risk, but
23.
yes and no. Yes and no.
Yeah,
I
I know
mean,
what you're saying, but
on
I mean,
the one hand, it's not fatal if he loses. And,
Yeah.
and then he's in any way. Dude, Brandon Royval's the fucking number 1 contender.
Yeah.
Josh Van is not even supposed to be in this fight. He's not even supposed to be on this card. He's supposed to be doing something else at the apex. I mean, this is I'm not as an insult. I'm just saying developmentally, that's
he's
kind of where
climbing
he's at.
quick.
But the fates are pushing him in this direction. I love the fact that he's getting a lot of experience. I don't love the fact that he's not taking time to really work on his game.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of fighters would be like, "Oh, I would love to do what he's doing," in part because you just get paychecks more often
Right.
if you just compete like that. And he, for the most part, he fucking wins.
And you're a darling, at least for this. Like
Exactly.
This, Leo.
I love his game. I love his attitude. I love his work rate. I love and he has, by the way, shown some obvious improvement just in the short amount of time he's been here. But I wouldn't have recommended this in a perfect world that he take this fight, even if he does win it. I mean, that's the problem to me, right?
Yeah.
It's like, even if you beat Royval for whatever reason, now you might be the number 1 contender. Let me fucking assure you, you're definitely not ready to be that guy.
It reminds me of when Anthony Joshua in boxing stumbled into a title shot that he really wasn't ready for, but there was a weak champion in Charles Martin, and the opportunity afforded itself, and he just took it, won by knockout, and we're off. sometimes in life you get those
Yeah.
opportunities. I'm not really here to debate whether Van should have took it or that whether, I think it's exciting. I think it's
I
exciting
mean,
that
you
he got
gotta
this
also
opportunity.
give the hat tip to Royval because like he's accepting
Sure.
the same thing. He's
But
accepting
like-
an opponent switch, right? Like to come in there.
He's desperate to get a title shot,
Yeah.
though. So I don't think. I mean, there's two ways to play the title shot.
Yeah.
One is to be like, "Oh, I'm sitting on a title shot. I'm not going to take a fight."
Sure.
And
Yeah.
the other
he's
one,
not guaranteed that shit though.
exactly, because he already lost twice.
I know.
So he is in a position like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever the fuck I can to make them happy, so that I can get back to the
Yeah.
top.
But this would be the best time to fight a Josh Van when, even though he's been on fire, 3-week turnaround, he fights all the damn time. He's always in camp, and the experience level. Look, Bruno Silva's a good win, and the manner in which he did it was great. No one on that resume close to Brandon Royval. So at 32, your fellow Coloradian.
Yeah, sure.
That's
That's how we pronounce it. Too.
What would you say to those odds makers? I know
I love
the
going
line,
to Colorado.
the line has moved a little
You do
bit.
like that
But
state.
dude, this is a 3-round fight, correct? Not a 5-round fight.
This is 3 rounds,
Yeah,
right?
it's 3. Yeah.
Okay, you would wonder if a 5-round could benefit Royval, but as you look at this matchup, what are you thinking? Because I'm thinking Raw Dog's about to show people what's up.
Well, I mean, that's a big. I think that's more likely. Like we were just talking about, this is a guy who's accelerated, and Joshua Van accelerated because he lost last July, and we were like, well, he's still very raw. He's 22. He's going to have to learn some stuff, and he has won 4 in a row. Now he's fighting on 3 weeks' notice or 3 weeks after fighting. This is a lot. If he goes in there, it would be hard to understate how big of a deal that would be for him to just skyrocket into that shot. Now,
Yeah.
would he be ready? Probably not. But I'm just saying that would be a ridiculous trajectory from losing last July to being at the end of June this year as a title contender. But I'm sort of with you, man. I feel like there are these guys, and we never see the thing we're talking about with Josh Van. We almost never see because there is that guy standing his way who's like, chafed the wrong way. He's been mistreated. He carries the chip on his shoulder, and he is willing to die
Yes.
in this situation. And that's kind of the way I see that Royval.
I mean,
would be
you're
here.
seeing a Royval by submission. I can see it in your eyes. You're seeing that.
I picked Van, but that's a momentum pick. You're like saying, well, he's got all this momentum. He's coming in. He's young. and all this.
Momentum
But
matters.
it doesn't.
It matters,
if you
okay?
really look at the way the UFC plays out, usually that guy doesn't win this fight. We don't get that sort of thing.
Usually the short notice turnaround guy doesn't win the fight either, and this is extreme short notice turnaround. Luke, where do you weigh in on this? You love Van, but I mean, you even have been underlooking and underrating Royval at times. Would you please give the man the bouquet and predict him to win here?
Well, I don't know what to fucking think, to be honest with you. I mean, the reality is, what are the odds? What are the odds on this one?
So it's a pick 'em right now. -105 Royval, -115.
That's kind of
Okay,
where
it
I'm
was
at,
plus
dude.
100
It is a
yesterday.
coin flip.
I'm a bit
That's
of a
what I feel
coin
like.
flip
Yeah,
guy
okay.
here. I mean,
It's a great fight.
Royval, I think, is
That's what's
obviously
fun, though.
Absolutely.
It's
Great
obviously
matchmaking
it's
on
obviously
this card.
somewhat striker grappler, right, to a degree. But
Mhm.
Royval has been in there slugging it out with guys better than Josh Van.
Way more experience, yeah.
His distance management, Royval, is totally on the elite level. I mean, I don't know if Van's going to have
It's a little strong.
Okay, we'll see.
I think he is.
We'll see.
I think he is at worst a competent striker, and I think more than that, I think he's a good one.
He moves a lot.
Elite is a little much for me.
Well, okay. I mean, he's got elite skills for this division.
No,
Very good, very
what I
good.
think he's elite is he's got instant jujitsu, right? These guys who can find something like that. They've got a good clamp.
Yeah.
They could be underneath. They can invert. They can find the back instantly. He's got that, and Josh Van definitely has never fought a guy like that. To me, it's like Royval should win. I just don't know if
I
he
know.
will. I don't know. It's a weird one for me.
It is weird.
It is.
Especially at 23, guys feel they're invincible. Even though he has that loss, you're 23, man. You're ready to
You
roll
don't know
dice.
what you don't
You're
know.
ready to roll dice.
Oh yeah. At 23, you're like,
I know.
You know what? You're like, I'll never be in a car
I
accident.
know. Right.
Yeah.
You're
I'll-
just like
I'll
you're still
never get
immortal.
I'll
cancer.
never get herpes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Never get AIDS.
Okay. Wow. I mean, I
He
had
cheered that one.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
He's like, I just don't believe in AIDS. It's not real.
Also on this main card, kind of a crossroads-ish lightweight tilt, but these guys are a lot closer in age, even if they're not that close in momentum. When 36-year-old Beneil Dariush, fresh off of consecutive knockout losses in elite matchups, goes against a 35-year-old Renato Moicano, who had his incredible upset-fueled run to become the money man, spoiled when he got the last-second title shot against Islam Makhachev and was handled in very quick fashion, looking to come back from that. The odds are very close in this one, although you have had Moicano as the favorite, and I think that makes sense. Is this a situation where you think Benny can prove that he's still around. He still matters here because he seems like a sneaky underdog pick
Yeah.
at plus money.
And I think you'd have to look at this. I think that they are both 36 and born 15 days apart. Like they've been on the earth the exact same amount of time, which is crazy because I always look at Dariush. Maybe it's the gray in his hair and stuff like
Yes.
that. But I always think that like he's like 40 and But I do think, again, this is an unsung guy, a guy who's had a crazy career, like a very, very successful career. At one point, he won like a bunch of fights in a row. I don't even know how many it was. But I feel like he still has that one last charge in him where he's like, I want to be able to do this. I don't
He
feel
put that
like he
brain
got
bleed
there.
scare behind him pretty quick.
Yeah. But
should we learn something from the last 2 stoppage losses?
I mean, they were big fighters. It's not like he's losing the middle of the pack. And I feel like this is his step down moment. If he can't get by Moicano, and I'm not trying to diminish Moicano, because Moicano's had a big run too until he ran into.
But he was fighting over his head, right? To be fair,
he was fighting over his head.
He was.
Refresh my memory.
It's a
he
good
was
fight.
red hot.
Dariush had a brain bleed scare.
I don't believe I'm making that up, Long Island Luke. That's a correct scare that happened.
I don't believe that's right.
I think you might be thinking of Vicente Luque.
Oh, maybe.
That's who I think
That's
is
why I
right.
was
Oh
like,
my
when you
God,
said
did
that.
I just do that?
Well, that's why I was looking at it like.
You said it, and I was like,
Dude,
I
dude,
was like, did I not do my homework?
All right,
on this
then
one?
it's probably the tequila talking here, but apologies. I thought it was
Hey,
Dariush.
one more margarita for you,
Wait,
pussy.
are you
You're going to be on the floor.
We should have a producer who can look this up before I get sued here
Oh,
for
my Lord.
misdiagnosing people. All right, there you go. Luke, when you look at this matchup, is it as simple to say that the ground game could cancel each other out?
Dariush is better everywhere. Now, he is longer in the tooth in the sense of having, I think, more miles on
Yeah,
him.
I think that's true.
It was true that Moicano took some abuse at 45 before he
Okay,
moved.
real quick. His coach said he took a long absence due to repeated head trauma.
But that's not the same thing as having a brain bleed.
Okay, but I think that's probably where.
All right, I apologize if I confused the Luque diagnosis there, but there was question for a while.
For
that he
sure.
was-
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Anyway, Dariush is better everywhere. He remember before he got in MMA, he was a high level black belt in professional jiu-jitsu. And to me we talk about guys who fight recklessly. He's got a little of that Pantoja in him when it comes time to strike. He was one of the only guys dude, Saryukian could not get Gamrot off of him when they were hit. Dariush had no fucking problem with it.
Yeah.
Dariush handled
He's a
him.
physical specimen.
Dude,
there.
Dariush is better everywhere. The question is, what kind of physical state is he in?
I agree
also,
with that.
remember, Moicano's shoulder is still a little wonky.
I think a guy like Moicano who can get hot and suddenly he's a title contender, and in this case he fought for the title. I always look to see what happens next if they get humbled in a loss. Derek Lewis against Cormier, that type of thing.
That's
I was like,
exactly
okay,
it.
we'll probably never see him at this level again, even though he did ultimately get an interim title opportunity. I wonder if Moicano's not fighting for. I'm sorry, Dariush not fighting for a job per se, but he's fighting to protect the elite sort of. Tag that he brings in with him. I wonder if it's the right motivation at the right time. Is Moicano going to be as fired up now that he has made
That's
some
the
of that
thing I
money?
wonder too. I mean, what you just stated, because you feel like a guy like Moicano, like somehow he burst on the scene. He was almost like Masvidal or something like that, where it's like he's been in the league a long time, or he's been in MMA a long time. Nobody's really paying too close of attention until one moment. This guy's kind of a character, and he's winning fights, and then all of a sudden you see him on his terms.
It was that short notice fight he took when he took a beating, but like showed
and then
his heart.
beating Saint Denis, right? Like not who he beat. Like he beat
did.
that. It was like he's supposed to get smoked
thrashed
there.
him,
yeah, but he ends up with it. I mean, these things were like they kind of turned the same. But you're like, did he blow his wad in this situation?
I often wonder that. Yes, yes.
I mean, seriously, I'm like the way that played out, was that kind of what we get from Moicano, like that whole situation.
It's kind of like 2019 Masvidal.
Getting that thing. Yeah, that's
He'll
what I mean.
never be
I
that
think
again because the motivation. It's like Pearl Jam can never write 10 over again because they're never going to be.
They're not going to be able to do it.
They're not going to have that feeling again. You know what I'm saying, Luke?
It's another year I won't listen to that
What
album.
what are you feeling with this Blanco inside of you? Have you consumed enough of it?
You I probably
Can't
pissed.
diss Pearl Jam, bro.
You
What
have
is that?
pissed yourself at a Rusted Root concert. Who are you?
I've
don't
done
even
way
know who
worse
that
than
is.
Rusted.
So
No, you
joke's on you.
don't be.
I have been to a Collective
The
Soul
Roots.
concert,
Dude,
and so
he
have
knows
you. though,
90s.
so.
He's seen Everclear.
Yeah, but hold on. Did you see Collective Soul in the 90s, or did you see Collective Soul in this?
I
I
saw him
saw
at the
Collective
county fair,
Soul
like,
in
last week.
2019, I believe.
Well, I mean, you're just the worst. I mean,
Saw him at a casino.
Yeah, that's where they should be playing.
Lightning strike.
Moicano has an incredible
Oh, wow, I
personality.
guess we're back. All
Hold on,
right.
Moicano has an incredible personality, and I think is such a a very charming character.
Yeah.
And he does have considerable skills too.
Early crypto guy too. You got to give him that credit.
I don't know if that's credit or not, but certainly, he's a very interesting guy as a personality. I guess the thing I would say though is Dariush, while quiet and he sort of a family guy and
salt and pepper hair,
keeps to
baby.
himself,
Yeah.
but he is just vastly, in my judgment, more skilled. I really believe that.
And a much stronger brain than I've given him credit for. So there you go, right there.
And he was always at least 3 fights away from a title shot somehow. Even when he was on like a 9-fight win streak, he was still.
I'll tell you what, it's plus money if this fight goes the distance. I think it does. I think Benny's going to put up an opposition, win or lose, and we go to that final. We go to the judges. So if you want, to make money,
I could see that.
Listen in right here. Speaking of things I'm enjoying, okay, related to this podcast right now that you're listening to is sponsored by Total Wireless, the official wireless partner of UFC, our friends. Yes, when you're streaming the fight or sharing those takedown highlights with your boys, you need a wireless provider that keeps you close to the action. With Total Wireless, you're covered by the Verizon 5G network. So you don't have to worry about your connection being knocked out at the biggest moments of the fights. It's not something we normally say here, that our wireless provider has our back like a coach in the corner. But Total Wireless really is in your corner every second of the day, so you never miss a thing. They keep you covered for just $25 a month for four lines, guys, without sacrificing essentials like speed. With Total, you get unlimited 5G data so you can stay ahead of the action and keep up with every KO. Ain't that right, Brian Campbell? Yes, it is. In fact, I'll take this further. Total Wireless also understands you can't afford any surprise blows any more than your favorite fighter can. That's why the price is guaranteed for 5 years, taxes and fees included. The best fighters don't make it to the octagon alone. They've got support along the way. So do you, too, if you visit TotalWireless.com or visit your local Total Wireless store to learn more about how Total Wireless can be in your corner. 5G access requires a 5G-capable device and a 5G service area monthly rate on the total-based 5G unlimited plan. For new subscribers, applies only to the monthly rate for your plan. Additional terms apply. See website for more details. Carrying on down the UFC 317 card, our opener to the pay-per-view that was bumped up after a fight fell off will bring a plus money 26-year-old Peyton Talbott coming off of his first defeat after 3 consecutive finishes to open his red-hot UFC career when he somewhat imploded, if you will, against 37-year-old veteran Raoni Barcelos, who was already on a run and continued it afterwards. Talbott was taken down 8 out of 15 times in that fight, and he'll be an underdog because Brazil's Felipe Lima can wrestle, and he also won his 2 UFC fights to open his career, although at 145. So we're back at 135. Chuck, the storyline is super prospect Peyton Talbott is a underdog, but that almost feels like market correction for me.
That does.
Considering his size and striking advantage. Is it going to come down to whether
it
he
might
keeps
be market correction.
his
It's
back off the mat there?
That's the big question. And he's worldly enough and elevated enough to understand. He made jokes like, I need to go to Dagestan. I need to learn how to wrestle. He's a smart kid, man. And I'm like, I think he has very good acumen to like learn quickly, but wrestling's hard. It's very difficult to do. It'd be very interesting to see if he's been able, and because I think now if you're the Jungle Boy going into this, you're probably thinking, I need to just take this guy down, right? Like, or at least that's going to be in your mind to be able to do this. And I think for Talbott, it's kind of one of those now, if you looked at that as a fraud check, which I think some people did, just given who he is, this one's now the full truth teller. Like, if he goes in there and he lays an egg here, we're going to be like, wow, why did we ever hype this dude? That's where he's at. But I also think that we could be reminded why we were hyping this dude if he goes in there and he looks like he did in his first couple of fights.
And now he's rocking with Frank Ocean. He doesn't want to talk about that video, though.
Yeah.
The butt vape?
I don't know anything about this. I'm just trying to know what the kids are talking about.
I did a big piece, and I met the guy who did the butt vape. It was not him. It was his roommate. But anyway, like, he still suffers from that whole episode,
You did a story about the butt vape?
Well, I didn't do it I did about Peyton, but that became part of the story. It was like I
don't even
visited
know
them
what
in
the
Reno.
butt vape is.
I went to
Is this
Reno.
How did your editor pitch you on that? We need a story on the butt vape.
Not the butt vape.
Is this
It
like
was
a
on
Richard Gere
Peyton.
gerbil type thing? What are we talking about?
Not quite like that, but
Anyway, back to what really matters, the fights. Luke?
Like he interrupts you when he doesn't talk. When it's your immaturity, he wants to.
how do I know about the butt vape story and you don't?
I
That
have
seems remarkable.
selective, and I like to focus more on the 115. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although I have 125 lately on fire. Hey, here's what I'm really trying to say, though. Luke, the experts are trying to tell you that Felipe Lima is going to be able to control him in wrestling. But if you really look at the stats, Talbott has been pretty damn good in takedown defense before that Barcelos fight.
Against numbers.
And he did stop 7, although he gave up 8 in that one.
It's almost 50%.
I don't know if Lima's the top position killer that the odds makers are trying to say here. Shouldn't the 4-inch height advantage, the fact that he attempts twice as many punches per or strikes per round, carry Talbott in this?
It well could, but if I think people are, I mean, calling Felipe Lima a wrestler is not quite right.
Disrespectful, you think?
Well, he can wrestle quite well. Yes, it's a part of his game. He can do a bunch of shit really well. In fact, that's how I would describe his game. I mean, recall something. This was a guy who had a championship belt in Octagon, the promotion out in Europe. He's much more battle tested on the regional scene. I would even argue more battle tested than, frankly, I mean, the Barcelos fight notwithstanding, but certainly in terms of victories, much more battle tested than Talbott. I mean, he's had to work on a vaster array of skills. So I think Talbott's got some real striking advantages. That is true, and that's what you're pinpointing.
Sure.
And that's real. But be like, oh, well, Lima has to wrestle him to win. Well, he can against Naimov.
Yeah, his striking's not on Peyton's level, though. Come on.
No, it's not on Peyton's level. But dude, is Islam striking on Dustin Poirier's level?
I hear you.
No.
I hear you.
But the fact that he has such a fucking threat there, it changes the whole game.
Does this tell you?
The Vegas odds, though, are crazy because they had Talbot like, minus 1,000 in all of his fights before this one. Now he's an underdog. It's just a crazy juxtaposition for him.
What does this matchmaking say about UFC's opinion of what they really have in Talbot? Because
that's what I was going to ask you guys, because to me, you would think if they really were invested in his brand of whatever he's doing, because he's a very different kind of star.
Sure.
Very, very different. But they would give him a layup. They would give him some guy that they were like, hey, there's no threat of anything here. This guy wants to throw hands, and this is perfect. They're not doing that. It's a little surprising. I'm a little surprised, man.
I can't tell if this is them saying, well, let's find out right now what we have, or if this is them saying, well, let's find out right now what we have because they're unhappy.
This is absolutely them asking, wait, time out. What the fuck?
Right.
What is this?
Yeah.
That is absolutely.
I
think
he
you're
did
right.
get stopped by Barcelos, but he imploded, would you say, right?
He looked bad.
Yeah.
He looked bad.
And it was like you saw the existential vertigo because he was like, I can't stop this.
Right.
You go to the canvas and he's like, I can't stop it. And
he
knew how
it's one thing to lose. It's one thing to lose badly. It's another thing at the UFC level to get manhandled.
That's true.
Yeah.
He got manhandled. And I don't mean just like physically like Brock Lesnar popped in there like the Kool-Aid man. I mean like he looked like it's one thing if, someone's shooting a double and I can't stuff it because they're really good. But you know what to do. Down block, sprawl, all that. He looked like he just didn't even know what to do.
He didn't have it.
I'm with you on that one. Interesting fight. I do think Talbot bounces back in a big way because it really comes down to, is he the real or not? I think he's going to show you who he is.
I kind of hope so because I want to see how he blossoms.
Supposed to.
I want to see what he does if he's able to stick around.
Long Island Luke, I guarantee you're betting the other way.
I'm going Felipe Lima.
I knew it.
Dude, Lima's good, man.
He is good. This is a good match. Hey,
with John's?
Good matchmaking on this card.
Very good matchmaking.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, people asking about this card, I get some of the complaints, but
well, look, if you're fired up for Saturday and you're excited to watch UFC 317, there's a little bit more ways to have fun and add on to this. And I'm talking, of course, about Pick 6 brought to you by DraftKings. And fellas, you know the deal. We analyze fighters, we look at a specific stat category like total strikes, total takedowns, and we're looking for more or less than when we look at these matchups. We talked about this Joshua Van Brandon Royval matchup. For example, Luke Thomas, Joshua Van, 94.5 significant strikes is what the median here is for 3 rounds. Are you taking more or less on that one?
I am gonna
94 significant strikes over 3 rounds. He does let his hands go.
I'll take the over.
Yeah.
I'll take the over.
So.
I think he crosses 100. That's rare, by the way, for a 3-round fight, but I think he can do it.
Chuck Mindenhall.
Yes, sir.
Kai Kara France, 72.5 significant strikes. That's the median. Are we going more or less on that?
I will say less. I think the fight ends before it gets there.
Very, very interesting stuff right there. One more on when we're looking at, of course, this Felipe Lima fight. They have his total takedowns at 0.5.
Wow.
I'm going more. He's got to test
surprised.
Talbot right
I'd
away.
be surprised.
Yes,
unless he gets clipped right
again,
away.
I don't know if he's going to get all that many, but he's definitely going to try.
Yeah, he's got to.
DraftKings Pick 6 is presented by, of course, DraftKings. The crown is yours. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use our code Kombat with a K. That's Kombat with a K for all new customers to get a special offer. Ride the upside only on DraftKings Pick 6. Yeah, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus, and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Let's get into the preliminary card here for UFC 317 on Saturday. Chuck, a lot of people are looking at this prelim featured bout in the middleweight division, not sure which way to go betting-wise when the veteran Jack Hermansson comes in there against Hobocock. Gregory Hobocock.
I saw a Hobocock on the way here.
Penn Station bathroom.
Penn Station bathroom,
is wild. Hobocock kind of fell apart when Cannonier was willing to go into the war base with him. I mean, they went after it in that fight. It was fun to see. Basically, if Hobocock doesn't kill you in the first two round and a half, you might be able to get the upper hand. What do you see in this fight?
I thought Hermansson looked really good. Like last time out,
took out Pfeiffer.
But you know what's weird about him is like he's been trading wins and losses for like 5 years, like where it's just win, loss, win, like literally straight down the line,
and sometimes in surprising ways too.
And what did he leave off with? Like I don't even know, but no, the last one was a victory, right?
Yeah,
he beat Joe Pfeiffer.
He's 37 years old.
So I feel like
though.
a loss, if we're following that trajectory, a loss is inevitable. But
he had a 2-year gap before that last fight too.
Yeah, I think Hermansson sometimes underachieves. I don't know, like if that makes sense, but there's been times where I'm like, I feel like he's going to do work against somebody, and he goes in there and he's like, oh man, he falls apart. So I feel like he's a hard prediction, but in this matchup, given kind of who he's fighting here, I dig it. I think it's a good fight for him.
Interesting. I like that. Luke, are you a believer in Hobocock, or is he just a really fun fighter?
Listen, he got tested against Cannonier. Cannonier's fucking tough, even at 40 years of goddamn age. But
by the way, he looks like he's. And I'm not trying to be, but you would think if you guessed
how old he was,
yeah,
28.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how he looks. I mean, it's insane how chiseled he is. But
Hobo in his face looks about 45.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Even Hobocock, or
you once called him a catcher's mitt.
So the first person I called that was Nogueira. Nogueira got the first.
Well, that's
of those.
I mean, like that's so funny. That's actually pretty accurate, though.
I know. It's like, dude, imagine if you mixed an ashtray and a catcher's mitt, you get Nogueira. But
which one?
Okay, that's brutal. But yes, there you go.
Have you seen his fucking face? I mean, it was barely hanging on for life.
Dude, I go Long Island. You going Hermansson here? You're going Hermansson here.
I took Hermansson with the spread, but you can do the spread at 3.5, 5.5, 7.5. So I took him at 7.5. So one judge has to give him 1 round. That's it.
Wow, real aggressive betting there, guy.
Yeah, because you're taking Hermansson as a dog. I think it's
so.
Also
wait a second.
fun.
If it gets stopped in like the third and he wins the first, do you get paid out?
No. So if Hermansson loses by finish, it's a dead bet. If he wins in any way, it hits, and if he just covers the spread via scorecards,
got it.
Hobocock does seem like the type of guy. If you count him out, he'll get a vicious knockout. That
yeah,
fight,
exactly.
You know?
Yeah, dude, he was dealing early in that fight too. I mean, yes, he faded down the stretch, but he was dealing. I don't know. I feel like a guy like that, if he can keep a little bit more sustained pressure, Hermansson's there for the
some
taking.
pretty good punch resistance in that brawl to be able to stand in there. Should we be hyped about 35-year-old Filipino featherweight Hyder Amil, who is 11-0 as a professional, 3-0 in the UFC, but he takes on a Jose Miguel Delgado who doesn't have a Wikipedia page. Should we care?
That one to me is not super high on the list of intrigue. I don't think it's a bad fight by any stretch, but no, it's not one that deserves, I think, significant attention.
Tracy Cortez, we're a big fan on this program.
We is a strong. I mean, I don't hate her, but like when we say we are fans, you're a fan.
The table only tilts one way when we're talking about.
Yeah.
God, why?
Catch your drinks on the other end.
I feel like I don't know these guys anymore. She finally found a UFC defeat when she stepped up against Rose Namajunas and lost a decision. Was it competitive? She lost an eyelash. I mean, it was kind of a humbling loss. But she's facing a 38-year-old Viviane.
After a year, though, right? Like she's coming back after a long time.
Who is a decision machine.
But who always loses when she steps up to the highest level consistently. I think Tracy Cortez bounces back. In fact, I think this is one of the safest bets, her by decision in here.
Cortez has had issues fading down the stretch too, but I agree with you. I think she's better overall. And I mean,
better with Ortega or without?
Without. What I'm going to say is too. If you look at the case,
don't normally get
if you look at the case of Araujo, she like loses to Natalia Silva, then beats Carini Silva. It's like, right. That's exactly who you are, right there. So
I saw her in a main event once at the Apex, by the way. Araujo. Araujo or whatever.
How long ago was that?
It was about 4 or 5 years
Main
ago.
event
This guy
against who?
was like, yo, I'm not even gonna talk to my girlfriend. Araujo was fighting in the motherfucking Apex. I got a 7-hour broadcast
But
I gotta do.
if she's fighting Cortez, he might not be talking to his girlfriend for a while. You never know.
True.
Remember, Cortez beat Blanchfield back in the day. It's
Can you
still
believe it?
crazy.
I know.
Yes.
It's still
What
crazy
if
to
Blanchfield
think.
told us it was a BS.
It was a-
what's the significance? I mean,
It was
what's
a
the
split
situa-
decision, so
split
I think
decision?
could have been controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting stuff right there.
But still.
Also, I'm into this lightweight tilt with Terrence McKinney, 30 years old, all 16 wins by stoppage, 15 of those in the first round as a
Yeah.
professional, by the way, but he can get just as easily knocked
Yeah.
out in the first round as we've seen often. Dude, this is going to be theater.
Fun fighter.
Slava Klaus, Vyacheslav, Borishev, great TV fighter. I think this could be the fight at plus 500 for this fight to go the distance. I think this
Wow.
could be the fight that McKinney's streak stops. Whereas every single fight in his career has been
Is
a
that right?
stoppage, win
Every
or
single
lose.
one of them.
I think that with the fact that Borshev can take punishment and routinely does that, his only stoppage loss came against Chase Hooper, and he said he didn't tap, although Alistair felt it. And I really think this could be the time because what McKinney said, this is his second fight with his new camp. He said the first fight was only a
Fusion
knockout.
Excel, right?
Yeah, he said the first fight was only a knockout because the guy kind of ran into it. He's saying his mindset on Saturday will be if he can't get Borshev out of there early, it's to not overextend. I don't know if he can do that because he loves action, but going the distance or not, this is a pretty fun fight here. Could this signify a stretch, the start of a actual run for McKinney?
I have no idea, but it's a fun fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing
that
it.
gets
It's hard
fun,
for me to
man.
make any kind of proclamation about it.
I kind of dig at plus 500 though. That's an intriguing. If you're a gambling,
Streaks are
that's
made
a
to be
pretty
broken,
100%.
That's hey. What is your take on all the comics moving to Austin?
The what?
Comics.
all the no.
Where are they
I
running
don't have
from,
a take
you
on
know?
that. I don't know. Joe
Right.
Rogan started something.
All right. Well,
He's been out there. He's been out to Austin. He's visited that whole thing.
Yeah, I was on the show.
That's true. I
He
forgot
was,
about that. Yeah.
It's a comic.
I forgot
guess.
about that because he forgot about us during that show. All right, thank you. Nico Price is an obscene underdog. We mentioned at the top of the show against a plus 3,000. So this Jacoby Smith line of plus 3,000.
Yeah,
plus
undefeated Jacoby
minus
Smith.
3,000.
Undefeated.
He's good.
I
man.
believe this trumps the record, which was supposed to be Shevchenko against Nico Montano, was the record for the
Wow.
biggest favorite in UFC history. This crushes
Is that right? Jesus.
How good is Jacoby Smith? 10-0.
Very good.
So I think Jacoby Smith is very good,
He's
but
very
I don't know
good.
about minus 3 fucking
Especially
thousand
against
good.
Nico, especially against a guy like that who has 9 times. I looked this up. He
The
has
Antonio,
18
the
fights.
Antonio Cromartie of MMA.
Yes.
Oh my
He has
God.
18. I think 18 fights.
Children?
Fights to the two UFC fights. It's a crazy line, but I will say that Jacoby Smith, he trains at Fortis. He goes up. DC's buddies with him. They bring him up there. He trains with Habib. You talk to this dude, like he's legit, man.
Yeah.
He is a legit. You watch that left hand that he landed
It
on
looks
Parsons.
good.
It was ridiculous. It
Yeah.
went right. It was like one of the cleanest knockouts.
I think
this year.
Jacoby wins, but I think the line's a little
They're
No,
out.
making
that's
it seem like
stupid.
Price is handicapped. He's 35 years old. He has lost 4 of his last 6, 2 by stoppage. Robbie Lawler got him easy.
This is
it
the
seemed, in
ice
the
flow.
first
They're
round.
putting him on the ice flow and giving him a kick. They're like,
Yes.
"Hey, see you later."
All right. We don't care about heavyweight Johanna Denise against
Jonathan Denise. No.
against unbeaten Alvin Hines making his UFC
No,
debut.
no.
Nobody. And then
No,
there's a
no.
curtain jerker below that.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think
So
you cared about
there's a
that.
couple on there that are not like amazing, but
Yeah.
in general,
but
it's
for
a fucking
on
good
whole,
card.
you're right. There's tons of. There's at least
There's
what,
more
8,
than
10 fights?
there's more than 5 fights to like.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
And
I
all
like-
of the
I
main
like
card
this
is great. I
a
think.
lot. I wanted to let you know, by the way, that Cuervo, DraftKings, and Dave & Buster's are teaming up this weekend in Las Vegas for UFC 317 to create a memorable experience for fans as they gear up for International Fight Weekend, or how about week, fella, in Las Vegas. Open to the public tomorrow, Friday, June 27th. Head on over to Dave & Buster's located at 821 David Baker Way in Henderson, Nevada for an event to remember, all thanks to tequila. The tequila that invented tequila, which is, of course, Cuervo. It's from 8 to 11 p.m. Pacific, Friday, tomorrow. Must be 21 or older. Tell them BC.
Yo,
sent
if
ya.
our friends at DraftKings are watching, I want a pair of those gloves.
Yeah,
Those are
I'm
cool.
Those
with ya.
gloves are
Yeah.
sick.
I'm with you on that one. Luke and I will not be in attendance on here. I wish we were, but shout out to Cuervo just the same. Guys, this is a loaded fight weekend because there is a, for better or worse, head-to-head headliner in Anaheim, California, when
There
Jake
is?
Paul
Oh.
takes on Julio Cesar Chavez
They got
Jr.
you.
I wasn't even doing a bit. I totally
on
forgot.
the zone pay-per-view. Quickly, We have maligned the fight. I think there's enough reason to.
Everyone has AIDS. Who gives a fuck about that fight? I'm not talking about
Chavez. That's it, right? That's all we're saying on
it.
that?
PFL tonight, by the way. Stotts versus Sergio Pettis. Good fight.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
but
is
there's
good
no
fight.
stakes.
That's a good ass fight.
That's tomorrow night, isn't it?
Oh, it's tomorrow?
Tomorrow night.
Yeah,
sure,
today's
yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Luke, you did
Oh
get
my
off
God,
the
it is
bird
Thursday, yes.
from an XFC card in
I
South
did.
Florida.
I did.
Fired up for you.
Kid killed it.
You see any future killers there?
Pay attention to the name Jarrett Betancourt. Jarrett Betancourt. He looks like he's the. Also Anthony Wint. Holy motherfuck!
Wow.
I mean, I've just he looks like prime fucking Schwarzenegger out there. It just traps to the ceiling.
Amazing.
And he fucked the other guy up real proper.
And Preston Parsons has some.
Preston Parsons has the most overwhelming cauliflower I've ever seen. Imagine going to Whole Foods and just taking 2 big ass heads of cauliflower and just doing that.
Is it more alarming than the roast beef for that soccer goalie? Or okay, topic for another.
Okay.
He always extends it just beyond
Hey, Chug,
the reason.
Chug. There's a place I like to hide.
I have a train.
A doorway that I run through in the night.
How often is shitting blood too often?
Smiling next to you.
Can you get sick drinking piss?
In the city.
Even if it's your own?
Oh, that felt so good. Luke, for the record, what is your favorite Creed song? I'm serious about this.
Burn the Masters and then let me piss on it
Are
to
you
put it
more
out.
of a higher guy or more of a hold me now?
No, I'm not a pathetic
I'm
white.
6 feet from the
I mean, I'm a
edge
pathetic
and
white, but I'm a different
You
kind.
guys do have very
thinking
different music tastes.
Can we fucking go? I got a
mean,
train
maybe
to catch.
Gotta
6
train.
feet ain't so
Anytime
far
he starts
down.
pulling the mic, it's like it's like he's extending.
Thank you to Cuervo. Thank you to DraftKings. We love you all. Thank you for watching. Chuck Mindenhall, people can find you on Uncrowned, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Yep,
Maybe get your
Uncrowned.
hat on the Boston Scally Myth.com.
Yeah. Themyth.com, MITH.
All
Yep.
right. You do great work for Uncrowned. I hope you continue to do great work with us. Thank you
Thanks,
for being
man.
our friend. All right.
Appreciate it,
The
fellas.
great Charles Mindenhall, Long Island Luke in the back. We can probably get great content from you on your Main Card Minute podcast.
You know it, baby. Let's go.
All right, morning.
Live, I think I'm going to do a watch along for the entire main card this
Ooh,
weekend. So
check
be
out
able-
Luke Thomas. Any Substack?
Oh, what does Mrs. Thomas have to say about that?
Oh,
Yeah. Hey, I don't do that for the apex, motherfucker.
Hell hath no
You can't judge a
fury.
book by its cover. You know, you gotta watch them all
actually, you
through
can.
to find
Actually,
out.
you can. That's exactly
You
what
can,
you can
but
do.
it's not accurate.
Yeah, you
know?
can.
UFC 312 and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was better. Let's
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
I love Blanco. I want to tell you guys, morningcombat.shop, a good place to
That's
go.
right.
You can buy your merch. The proceeds, to be honest, they go directly to Long Island Luke, myself, Luke Thomas.
Notice how Chuck Minden.
Oh my God! Land this
Chuck,
motherfucking
we
plane!
did give you a shirt.
I did
We
get a
give
shirt.
Chuck
Thank
a
you
shirt.
guys. Yes.
Thank
I'm gonna
you
wear
for
my
watching.
jacket next time too. It has my name on it.
No episode tomorrow on Friday. You can check out a live chat. Luke, we got live chat. What time's yours tomorrow?
Probably going to be after our call, so right around 2 p.m.
All right, I'm going to go 11 a.m. Eastern time, so check it out on the Brian Campbell
Oh, wow.
Experience. That's Luke, Chuck, BC, LIL. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the fights this weekend. UFC 317, Topuria, we need you. Let's go, brother. Deliver.